Hello, fam. How are you doing? How are you today? It's me again, Malela. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. If you're back again and you've been with me since the beginning, thank you so much. May God bless you. Thank you for the support. So, yes, I have been receiving a lot of requests that I should continue the travel series. And yeah, I'm back with that. So I've covered my travels within East Africa. I'm making it sound big, but it's actually just Uganda that I have been to. And of course, I was born in Kenya. So I want to talk about my first time outside Africa. And that did not happen so long ago. That was in 2019, June actually. So if you've been following, you remember I volunteer with an amazing Christian and profit organization called Peer Servants, Partnership for Economic Empowerment and Relations. And they are concerned with lifting the materially poor all across the world, in Africa, in Europe, and in Asia. And this organization has a youth wing, a huge movement, young people my age, working in their communities to bring transformation. We have people involved in social justice, we have people involved with the environmental action, we have people involved with prison ministry, hospital ministry, children ministry, involved with street kids, and they are doing an amazing job. So if you remember the Uganda story, my first time in Uganda, I had actually gone for a conference organized by my organization for young people across the 8 countries. And it was after that conference that I got a volunteer position as the global co-director for youth empowerment programs. So the events in 2019 up to now, I just said it's God. That's all I can say. Because things were moving back to back. Because I remember when I came from Uganda, that's about 19th of January in 2019. On 30th of January, that's when I received an email requesting me to be the global co-director for youth empowerment programs. And before I could catch my breath, in March, I received another email that the office had requested me to go for an internship in Boston. So I was like, whoa. And then now they started asking me, do you have a passport? And then you can't get your visa without your passport. So mimi kijana Homa Bay niko hapa, sina passport, kijana amekaa tu hapo. You remember the first time, as I was telling you, when I went to Uganda, the first time I used my temporary permit to travel in East Africa. Traveling in East Africa is not so hard. Just get your temporary permit for $250, get it stamped, and then you're good to go. So now I'm here. There's no passport. So I started immediately the process of applying for a passport. And if you know or if you don't know, I just took the 32-page ordinary passport, which is 4,500 shillings, yes. And the process begins online. Of course, on your eCitizen portal, you sign up there, and then you fill in details. They require a lot of details, family details, your background, your details, your description, and everything else. And then after that, you make the payment, and then you download the forms, and now you will go to the passport control office. So the one I chose was the one at Nyayo House in Nairobi. So I remember I was in Homa Bay when I started the application online. And I remember when I traveled to Nairobi, I landed in Nairobi in the morning. I left my bags at Easy Coach and rushed to Nyayo House. I was so surprised that there was a lot of people applying for passports. But all the same, the 6 hours I spent at Nyayo House were worth it. It was such a long time. But anyway, if you look at my passport photo, I just look beat and hungry because I didn't even want to leave the line. I didn't even take a bathroom break. I was just there. And when I reached there, because they needed our original birth certificates and everything, the guy at the counter looked at it and then sent me to another office. And then I was like, I'm done. There's an issue with my birth certificate. that must be it. There just must be an issue with the birth certificate. But I think it was just verification and all. So I sat there, they checked my credentials, and then I went to the final office where they take your pictures and everything. And they tell you to wait. You'll be texted when you can pick your passport. So I think on average, a passport takes 1 or 2 months on average. But mine came a little bit fast, which was a blessing. So yeah, so I received my passport and it was okay. The only discrepancy in my passport is that my height says I'm 6'5". I'm nothing near 6'5". But I don't think it was a problem while I traveled. So guys, even if you don't see the prospect of traveling anytime now, it's good to have your passport just in case, because now opportunities are opening up to many people, and if you don't have your passport, it might limit you for opportunities that require you to travel. So I will beseech and ask you guys to apply for your passports. So that was step 1. Step 2 was now getting the visa. Of course, the visa, you also go to the US government website, the immigration website, and then you fill in your details. You create an account, fill in your details. That is the first step, and then you download that form. And then the next step is now you'll pay on the day of the interview. You schedule for an interview. So I remember the morning I went in for my interview at the US Embassy in Gigiri. So of course I got there on time. I think I scheduled for 9 a.m. or something. And all through this, my organization was active, and I want to thank Sandy and Hannah for really being key in helping me through this process. Even that morning I didn't take matatu maze, nilipanda Uber hapo maze, nimeng'ara kung'ara, kijana amekata nywele, nikaa naenda job interview. And another thing to do before you go for such interviews, just know people have their experiences posted all over YouTube, and ask those who've traveled before, how was it, how was the interview, what is required, just to have a rough idea. So the type of visa that I was advised to apply for was a B1 B2 visa, which is a business and tourism visa. So the papers I had my passport, I had my birth certificate just in case, I had a certificate of good conduct, and then I had the letter from my office in Boston indicating that they had invited me to the US to go for an internship. So just any support letter or anything that might be asked for, it's good to just be ready. And then me, because they said they required passport photos, I took them somewhere in Kahawa and carried them. So I get there, and then security of course is beefed up. So there's the main gate to the embassy, and then there's a smaller gate where they use for purposes such as application for visas. So it was not my first time at the embassy, so I was more confident, because in 2018 I had been part of a film project founded by Kenyan filmmakers at the US Embassy called Stories Found Film Project. That one I'll talk about it another time, but it was actually gave me the opportunity for my first visit to the embassy. So yes, so I get in, there's a lady at the entrance, checks my stuff, checks if I'm there on time, and then I go to the queue for the interview. And by the way guys, the interview is not like your panel and interview. It's just over the counter, and there's a glass between you and the person interviewing you, and they're all US staff. There will be no Kenyan staff or Kenyan citizen interviewing you. It's all the embassy staff and US citizens interviewing you. So just before I went in there is another set of ladies who were checking our credentials, and then they checked my passport photos, and they were like, no, this is not the size that is required, so you have to go back outside the embassy, take a new set of photos, and then you have to come back. So that was my first tension, because I was like, maze, if I've been sent away in this first part, anyway, I just said I have to complete the process because I'm already here, and I had already booked and scheduled everything. So I go outside the embassy. There's a photo place, so expensive. I think for 5 photos they the guy charged me 500, and I think they take advantage because now they know these are people who are desperate and on time. So I went outside again and took those photos to the prescribed size, and then I came back, went through security and went in again. Lucky for me, the ladies remembered me and they ushered me in. So guys, let me tell you something. If somebody is not going to get a passport, a US visa, you'll see it. So there's the blue letter and then there's the pink letter. So the pink letter is the one that is given to people whose visa applications have been denied. You actually know it in that moment. So for me, I went up there. Now I think after sorting the passport issue, I was all good now. Everything else checked out. I think my interview was very short. It was less than 2 minutes. And it was a guy who was interviewing me. So he asked me regular questions. Is it my first time outside Kenya? What am I going to do in the US? Do I have the letter? And what else did he ask me? Am I in school? For which I answered yes in my 4th year. So you have to know those questions you answer with a yes or no, and then those questions that need a bit of an explanation. So for me, have you been outside Kenya? Yes, I've been to Uganda. And then what else did they ask me? Do you have a letter? I said yes. Are you in school? I said yes, in my 4th and final year. So I think that is all this guy asked me. And then he told me, yes, your visa application has gone through. So go to that window and make the payments and leave your passport with us, and then we'll process it. So yeah, I did all that. And that was it, my people. That's how my visa application went through. And then I went and made the payment in cash. They specify for you how much you need to pay. So you pay for it, and then you pay something called reciprocity fee. Yeah, that's what they call it. I don't know if it's reciprocity between Kenya and the US or something like that, but that's what they call it. And then I went home, and then I said I will wait a few days. So I remember after that time, I went back and waited about 5 days in, and they texted me or they emailed me, I think, either to go and pick it, because you choose your pickup point. Do you want to pick it at DHL? Mostly locations within Nairobi. So I chose the DHL that is in town. That's why I went and picked my passport. And I remember my friend David took me to pick that passport, the visa, I mean. Okay, I keep saying passport because the visa, actually, it's not a whole passport kind of thing. It's just a piece of paper that is actually placed within the passport. Yeah, so that is what your visa is. And I think when I got it, was just a few days before I traveled. It was about 2 days before I traveled. So yes, so how I traveled, this is now the interesting part. So my flight was scheduled to leave at 10 Kenyan time, I think so, yes. So I had like so many friends. Guys, thank you so much for coming to see me off. And my dad was there, and my uncle Mwanza was there, and I had a travel companion, lucky me. And my travel companion had traveled so much. So much. So a bit of background: she's Finnish, but she's married in Kenya, and she was a missionary. She is actually a missionary who came to Kenya way earlier, pre-independence, and settled and got married to a Kenyan man, and they made this wonderful family. And yeah, she was going to be my travel companion from Kenya to Boston. And I was lucky because her daughter had actually been the one who'd introduced me to this organization back in 2017-2018. So her name is Mama Maya. So Mama Maya is aged, but she's still very strong. So because she was going to see her daughter Hannah in the US, I was lucky enough to get the privilege to travel with her. So we got to the terminal, went in, and because I was with her, I actually had it super easy traveling because people who are aged are given privileges, especially if you inform the airlines on time. They can be given wheelchairs to ease their travel. They can be put on the airport trams, because some airports, like the one in Amsterdam, it's so large that they have like cars that run within the airport. So for blind people or mentally physically disabled or the aged, they have these privileges. So we go in, of course. When you go in, you look for your airline, and we were traveling with KLM. So KLM, I don't know what KLM is in full. Yeah, so we went into KLM, we were checked in, we left our luggage, went in through security, and I think our flight didn't wait for long. But what I ensured I did was I converted my cash into US dollars, because one of the things you don't want to do is when you're asked at border control over in the US, do you have any money? And you'll be like, no, I don't have money. I'm just like, you have to be confident and say, yes, I have this amount of money. So of course we go in with Mama Maya, and then we didn't have any problem just going through. It's not a long process. After they check your boarding pass, you leave your luggage, you go through security, you find your gate, and then you wait for a bit. If there's a delay, you just sit there as long as you know your gate. And then when the flight time comes, then you go in. They usually give priority to kids and pregnant women, and then the aged, and then there's now the first class, business class, and then sisi watu wa economy maze, sisi tunarushwa huko nyuma, mtangoja muingie wa mwisho. So we were flying economy, of course, but the seats were very comfortable. I'd been told, so many mates, I'd been told, oh, the seats are too stiff, the food is bad, the cold, you have to have extra blankets and all that. So I dressed up so warm when I was going in there. But I think I had it super easy going in. So Mama was seated right beside me, and I have to say I really enjoyed her stories. So just so you know, she's been a missionary almost most of her life, and she's been in very dangerous places, including the some places that Christians were not allowed. But she braved it, and these are some of the stories we were talking about. So we had a lot to say, and then she'd fall asleep at some point. But for me, as soon as the plane took off, I was like, let me go into the movies, So there are plane movies, especially like the Delta Airlines, Delta, KLM, Kenya Airways, a bit. I think so. I've not flown. Have I flown Kenya Airways long distance? No, I think I've only flown Kenya Airways between Uganda and Kenya. But KLM and Delta have done a good job with the entertainment. They have an array of podcasts, movies, music, So I found among movies that I watched while traveling, I think Native Son. I watched, what else did I watch? Oh my, I have to remember the movies I watched. But I remember when we traveled, it was about 9 hours or 8 hours from Nairobi to Amsterdam. And then in Amsterdam, we had a layover of 4 hours, 45 minutes. Guys, it is both a short time and a long time looking at it. So as soon as we landed, and because I was with Mama Maya, we were put on this car that took us. We went directly to security, and then we had it done fast because I was with Mama Maya. I was traveling VIP, my people. And then after we were taken through security, it's not so rigorous there. I think it's only one checkpoint for security in Amsterdam. I don't know if it's still like that. And it was pre-corona, so there was not much social distancing or wearing masks or all. So after that, we were taken to a waiting lounge. So this waiting lounge is special for especially aged people, but I was privileged because I was with Mama Maya. And then we sat there, and Safaricom reception in Amsterdam is actually quite good. So I think I called home. I told them I was in Amsterdam, or chilling, relaxing, we just seated facing the window and just watching planes, cargo planes mostly, with Mama Maya, and just speaking our stories and all. So I told Mama Maya, you just rest, let me take a walk. I will not go far off, because she was concerned I will go far away. So I left the waiting lounge, and then I took a stroll around. Yes, so I took a walk around I think I don't know the correct spelling, but I think it's Schiphol. Schiphol. Okay, it's a funny name, but it's cool. So I walked around, and then I found this shop that was selling drinks, because I really needed a drink. I forgot to mention, within our 8-hour flight, they provided meals, and I think I had chicken and some stew that had potato in it, and a drink. I kept having either Coke or Sprite or something like that each time. But I think my experience with the plain food, it was not so bad as much as I anticipated. I actually enjoyed plain food. It wasn't bad. I didn't find anything stale or weird, but I think it was always just so interesting, because I think I had breakfast and I had dinner on the plane. I keep confusing which one I had where, but I remember having them. And each flight there was food, because there was super long flights. Let me get back to the story. Yes, so I took a stroll around Schiphol and I didn't go far. So I found this shop. I bought drinks, and they were because I had dollars then. I had about $30. I spent, I think, $4, because I asked Mama Maya. She asked for soda, and I had an energy drink. I think I had Monster. So after taking that stroll, I came back, and time really flew by fast. 4 hours 45 minutes layover. So we were taken from the waiting lounge, and we were taken to the gate again, and now this time we're flying Delta. So Delta, KLM, Kenya Airways, Air France, they have formed an alliance, and they call it Delta. I don't know, Americans are just dominant. They had to call it Delta, but they form an alliance, and you can get your loyalty points by flying any of this, and they are considered under one umbrella. So now from Amsterdam Schiphol to Boston Logan, we're going to fly Delta, and I have to say, KLM was good. KLM is Dutch, Delta is American. Not because I'm siding with America or anything, but the experience in Delta was better than that in KLM. And not to downplay KLM services, they are super good, but I think the movies, the screens in Delta are way better, and the seating space, the leg room in Delta is way better. And I think in Delta we were fed twice. In fact, I remember just before we were landing, we were being told, guys, come on, take these snacks if you want to take them. And so for me, I was excited, and I don't think I was just into taking snacks, going with them into the US. So we left Amsterdam again, and same cycle again. So we had times when we were catching up with Mama Maya, and then there were times she fell asleep. I think I fell asleep for about 2 hours or so, but then I woke up and then I couldn't sleep again, so I kept watching movies. I think I did 2 movies or so after I woke up before we landed. So the first thing that captivated me, Maze, was Boston Logan Airport, because it's by the sea, and when the plane is touching down, you almost think you're going to fall into the sea, because it's like the tip of the runway is at the sea, and then the rest of it goes in. And we arrived at light of day. We arrived in the morning, I remember. Different time zones, but it was in the morning there. And we landed so good. And now this is the part you guys need to know. Having the visa is not a guarantee for you to get into the US. Anything can happen between you landing on the plane, from the plane, getting off the plane, and then walking through immigration. So we land, and then we walk past these guys who they randomly check bags, so they can stop anyone randomly and check your bags, but I was not among those who were checked or anything. And then at the point of the immigration officers, that's why again they ask you a few questions. So the immigration officer that I found, first of all, no, that was in another incident when they were commenting about my Kenya. Yeah, that was on another incident. But this time, he asked me if I come for business or pleasure. And then I told him business. And then he asked me where I was going to stay. And I told him. And then he asked me, do I have any money on me? Oh, the question that I've been told they actually did ask. So I told them, yes. I have $30. No, I told them I have $25. Yeah, $26. Yes, I told him I have $26 on me. And then he told me, okay. He stamped it and that he did everything. And then he told me, welcome to the United States. And then that's how I got in. And when we got in, our Boston farm was waiting. Sandy was there with flowers and a gift, and they just received us so well. And Sandy's laughter is so infectious. She just filled the whole of the lounge with laughter, and I think everyone stopped for a minute just just to listen and look at this woman who's laughing so heartily. Oh, Sandy, you gave us a warm welcome with Mama Maya. And Hannah and Talia were there to also pick us, because now after Sandy had received us, alongside Anna and Talia, Mama Maya and Mama Maya and me and I were going to go with Hannah, and Sandy was going to go elsewhere, and I didn't expect her to be there, so it was a surprise to find her there. Thank you so much. And among the things she left me, she wrote me a card, thank you, and left me a small book, just speaking about the culture around, Boston and how things move and their way of life. So it was a really thoughtful gift. And as Sandy came in, Anna and Talia followed her, I think. And we were in the car. That's how we got into the US. And it was such a nice, super nice experience. And so I will continue the rest. From this part, I will continue and tell you about how it was my first week there, my experiences, traveling from the US to Philippines to Singapore and back to the US again. But I think my first experience with the flying there was no turbulence. I don't remember turbulence at any point. The food was marvelous. Or maybe it's just me and my love for food. And the entertainment was perfect. They have an array of movies and TV shows that you can watch and documentaries. And I think you guys, I don't know about other airlines, but the airlines under Delta, Korean Air, Kenya Airways, KLM, Air France, all of them, they're just good. Because I flew Korean Air, Delta, and KLM during my time traveling the world during that period. So I got to the US safe and sound. I didn't experience any problems, and so it was nice just being in the US. And guys, there is no specific feeling of difference, but you actually see a bit of difference in terms of infrastructure, in the way things move, and then for the first time being among more white people than you've ever been in. Because guys, if you grew up in Africa like some of us, you're used to seeing so many black people but a few white people. But there it's like the other way around. You see a lot of white people. So I think that's one of the differences. We are used to seeing them in movies, but now if you're there in person, it's a bit of a different experience. But for me, I think I didn't have any problems with immigration. I didn't have any problem with my visa. I didn't have any problem with my travel, and I just thank God for that. amazing trip. And I think it was also the grace that I got to travel with my amazing travel companion, Mama Maya. Mama Maya, may God bless you for being an amazing travel companion. I think we really bonded over that flight, and she gave me her stories of her days in the mission field, and how she had to go through dangerous places, and how she had to move from her country, that is Finland, and move to Kenya, and just got married there, raised a family there. And it was just a really nice time of getting to know her. It was just like we were living together for those 18 hours or so. Because I could wake up and see her. Oh, another thing that I forgot to mention. Yes, you can go to the toilet in the plane, and it is a very weird toilet. It's like a suction, like when you flush. When you flush. Oh my! Yes, when you flush, it like sucks your stuff and takes it away. It is so weird. It is super weird. And once in a while, sitting for 9 hours is not good. So once in a while, it's good to take a walk on the aisle. The aisles are spacious enough, so you can take a walk and stretch your legs and feel better. And Mama Maya and I did that once in a while, so that we will not get to Amsterdam and to Boston with swollen legs. So guys, that was the first part of my travel outside Africa. I hope to continue more in the next episode. Thank you for keeping it tuned, keeping it locked, and we are going to get this thing more interesting. Keep it locked. I will give you more in the coming episode. Thank you so much. Looking forward to having you in the next episode. See ya. Bye. See ya.